Welcome, gamers, to Basement Arcade Pause Me, the show where we hit pause, sit back, and just chill. I am your host, Ben Magnet, the god of video games. Here with me is Brandon T. McClure, the god of other video games, and Ryan Eliopoulos, the god of next-gen video games.
This god chair is being a little crowded. I'm not gonna lie. I think we need to start killing some people.
Oh, we came to the right place.
All right, let's do it.
Okay, so what do we mean at the gladiatorial combat arena?
I've already killed you, Ben.
It's a different. No, we can't.
You're drinking my poison now.
Oh no! Oh, too bad. I have the antidote. It's
all right. So we are talking about God of War Ragnarok, right, Ben?
Yes, we are. So this episode of Basement Arcade Pause Me, or if you're watching this live, this is technically episode 310 of the Fake Nerd Podcast, but Basement Arcade has invaded because myself, Brandon, and Ryan have played God of War Ragnarok. We are reviewing the game. I had a thing for this. God damn it. Yes, we're reviewing God of War Ragnarok. Came out at the end of 2022. I almost said 2018. Jesus Christ. And gentlemen, what do you guys, what'd you guys think?
Would you be shocked to say that this is a good video game?
Would
that shock anybody in this room?
I don't think anyone would shock it. It would shock anyone. But before we adventure on, I just want to say spoilers for God of War Ragnarok. Grayson is in the chat right now. He says, "Woo, God of War love." He beat the game, so he knows. So yeah, spoilers for God of War Ragnarok. Just laying that out there right here, right now. Sorry, Brandon, to cut you off. So what did you think about Ragnarok?
I think it is a very good game that doesn't quite hit the heights of 2018.
I agree with that 200%.
I might be the outlier. I do agree that some mechanics-wise, it doesn't do anything different. But story-wise, I loved it. This was like this game was number 2 on my top 15 things for a reason. This game was phenomenal. I had an absolute blast playing this game. It definitely went from I have to play it because I want to play it, and then because I was going between this and Pokemon for a little bit, but then I was like, okay, I need to beat this because for this show, and also I want to write a review for it for Fusion. And then it became, no, I want to play this. I'm not just powering through this game anymore. I want to explore. I want to try and complete this game. Mm-hmm. And I mean, we'll get into it. So should we go through the story, or should we go with the game mechanics first?
Let's go with the game mechanics.
Yeah.
Because I think so I'll get the ball rolling. And I think Ryan will agree with me when I say that, like, it's the same gameplay from the first game. There are some differences. There's some new powers and attacks that you can do. I think I was both grateful and disappointed in that, because like it felt like slipping into a glove, right? It felt like, oh, right, I know how to play this game. I played this game for hours. You get right into the swing of things. Where I think it mostly falters is with the spear. You get the Dropner spear later into the game, and I like that game as a long range weapon. As a close range weapon, I think it leaves a little to be desired.
That's fair. I like it a lot. My problem, I agree with that. I think the combat is very familiar. I don't think it should take you 20 hours before you get your next weapon. That is, we've all played all the God of War games. You remember those original games, how often it's not every minute, but you were getting new weapons like every couple hours, and every single God of War game you have multiple weapons. So I expected you to get new weapons in this game, and by the time I was like 15 hours in, I'm like, are we really not getting another weapon in this game? Is this really what we're doing? And that's not a bad thing. It's good combat, but it's very familiar.
It was definitely, I want to say with 2018's God of War, with 2018 God of War, you were about 20 or so, maybe 10 hours into the game.
10 and 20 hours are very different, Ben. You need to.
Yeah, you were.
That is double the length of a game.
I think he was agreeing. You were agreeing with Ryan, right?
Yeah. Because like in God of War in 2018, you got the Blades of Chaos at the definite halfway point of the game, which was, I want to say, 10 hours in. I could be mistaken.
Yeah, it's also, this game's double the length of the first game.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I definitely felt the length, but at the same time, I wasn't angry about the length though.
No,
but I do want to agree with Brandon because I was thinking about this going into it, about the controls and how this game plays, because it's very much the same. After a while, you get used to the groove. I want to say Santa Monica Studios definitely went with a if it ain't broke, don't fix it sort of motif, because the problem with sequels, or not the problem with sequels, but the challenge sequels face is how do we have a great foundation. How do we make that foundation built better? Because you do have a lot of, I want to say there's some games out there that do make the foundation better and they regress and make the foundation worse. There are definitely games like that. So with God of War,
you're right. Real quickly, just to bounce into what you're saying, you're right that one of the things that I do appreciate with the game is that you don't start at zero again. Like you don't start over. You are still a powerful person who has this axe and the blades of chaos, and you don't start from zero again. You start from a different point, but you are still you are bouncing off of what had come before, and that's a positive, I think.
Essentially, you don't get Metroided.
No, you know what?
Sure.
You know what game I don't think it's the greatest sequel ever made, but I think starting you at a base and giving you more, I think the best version of that is Batman Arkham City, because can start you with a lot of the same stuff, and then you get so much tech that I don't even care about using, but they give it to you.
Kingdom Hearts 2 is also a good example for building on the foundations of something of what came before, because they improved the combat in Kingdom Hearts 2. They had so many different play styles in Kingdom Hearts. Yeah, I mean, we could go on talking about other games, but I want to say with God of War Ragnarok, while they went with the if it ain't broke, don't fix it, there are still a few things in there, a few nuggets of this is different and we have to get used to it. Like definitely the drop in your spear, when I first got it, it took me a while to get used to it. I will not lie.
Yeah,
it was a little bit, but after I got used to it, after I started playing with it, and I realized like, okay, this is I actually started really enjoying the spear. This,
it has
I don't
remember if it's L2 or R2, but it has my favorite ability where you rain down spears on people.
That's cool. Yeah.
I'm a big fan of that.
That is my favorite too, and let's just say that helped me a lot with the Berserker fights. Jesus H. I'm on the last king. I'm on the king right now. I tried to kill the king the other day. I got.
Ben, have you killed the trolls yet?
Not yet.
You should go do that and then go fit the king again.
Kill the trolls first. I need to find the trolls too. Jesus H. Every time I was.
No, go ahead.
No, because I remember when I was traveling around the the realms, and Mimir would talk about a troll. I'm like, I would look at the troll. I'm like, I'm gonna have to fight this fucker soon, aren't I?
Yeah.
All right, and then I picked up the thing. I was like, oh, we could wake that up, and it took me a long time to realize, because I think I was talking with Brandon off mic about the game. And then he said, hey, did you fight the trolls yet? I'm like, what trolls? I'm like, oh, now I remember. It was like a memory was unlocked.
You need like an amulet to wake them up. And they drop an ore that can create the best armor in the game. And it's awesome.
So like, I know I am not negative on the combat. I think the combat is good. My problem is that it takes a very long time into the game before I feel like I'm doing more stuff than what I want to do, than what's initially given to me, because it is a lot of the same abilities, and like I can only swing an axe so many times before I'm like, yeah, but what's happening after this? And luckily there's like things like, like the augments, and there's like different abilities you can use, and Atreus being there is really cool. And when you get to play as Atreus, if it was just Kratos this entire game, I definitely wouldn't be as positive. I think the Atreus stuff's awesome. I love playing as Atreus. I love playing as Atreus.
I think the Atreus stuff is great. I really love his gameplay. I like his combat style. I love transforming into those animals when you can control that.
Absolutely, 100% love it.
Oh yeah. When you're the first time you could transform into a wolf, it was like so satisfying. It's like there are a couple. There are definitely a couple like I jump out of my chair cheer moments, and like the first time you get to transform into the wolf as Atreus yourself. I'm like, that was one of the times when I came back to the podcast extremely positive, because I just got to that moment, and I'm like, this is what I was waiting for, something like this where I get to turn into a wolf. And then I gotta wait. Then I gotta go to Ironwood and stuff.
I'm really happy that we kind of get some stuff with Freya. I think Freya is a good like she's basically Atreus when you don't have Atreus.
There's a lot of companions in this game, which is awesome.
Yeah, and I really like playing with Freya, because there's, I guess I don't want to get into story stuff yet. But Freya, I'm really positive on overall.
Me too.
But the combat stuff with Atreus was always the highlight. And the first time I remember when we were transitioning to Atreus, I was like, oh, are we going to play as Atreus? And like, I even think Atreus has the strongest story elements when you're playing as him also.
I definitely agree with that, but definitely playing as Atreus for the first time threw me for a loop because I want to say there was a good 30 or 40 seconds I'm staring at the screen waiting for the cutscene to continue. I'm like, wait a minute, because
I was like, wait a minute.
Well, the thing is, the heads-up display didn't like his health bar and all his other stuff didn't pop up for me. So I'm like, no. And then I moved the stick and he's walking along. I'm like, oh shit, I get to play as Atreus now. This is actually, and that was to me one of the definitely one of the nuggets where the team decided, okay, what can we do here that's different? You play as Atreus,
and that's the
biggest story of the game.
Right. Mm-hmm. But that's the biggest attractor for me is that there's not enough that's different about this game, and I feel like if this was the second part of a trilogy, I would feel differently. But because this is the final part of the Norse mythology, I am a little emotionally, especially let down because I think that the kind of talking a little bit about the story, I think half of this game is very well paced, very well structured, good story. And then the second half of this game is very rushed. And I really wish it wasn't.
And this is what really bums me out, Brandon, because you're 100% right. But I liked the things I was doing more in the second half than as to the first half. I felt we were taking this is a game that takes too long and doesn't have enough time at the same time, which I don't understand how, because it's almost a 40-hour game if you want to do everything. Like the first half, I think it takes a really long time for you to get to tier to break them out of the mine. I think that takes a long time. I think the Ironwood section, which is the internet's like the Ironwood section, is like the worst part of the game in my opinion, and that bums me out because that's a section I should love. And I'm a person who loves slowing down, just talking, breathing with the characters. But God, that Gak moves so slow. Oh my God, we were there for like 2 hours doing nothing, and I'm like, this is the final God of War game of this. We're not going to see another God of War game for a long time, and we're spending 2 hours just yakking around. And sure, is that good for Atreus' story? Sure, but like, do I need to skip rocks 7 times?
But here's the issue. Here's the issue with that. I think when you boil it down, there's a lot of dialogue in this game, and that's not necessarily a bad thing when you're talking about. It's a little weird for God of War to talk about dialogue scenes, admittedly, but like. There's a lot in this game, and it's because it's doing a lot of heavy lifting to finish the story. And that's kind of where I wish that we had spent. I wish that it was reversed. That we spent more time on the second half of the game. We paced that a little bit more outwards, and we had more to do in there, and less time in the beginning half of the game. I wish that was the game that we played, and maybe I'd feel stronger about that because that we're doing more with the stuff that I like in the game. But I feel like that should have been its own game.
It feels like, real quick, man, it feels like we watched 3 hours of Infinity War and then Endgame was 30 minutes long.
Yeah.
Because like the final attack on
Asgard.
Asgard, I'm like, oh wow, we're doing it. And then it kind of like it's over, but like it's pretty quick. It's pretty quick. And I'm like, man, that was a lot of buildup, I guess. Man.
Yeah.
Definitely, I would have to agree with Ryan about how the first half of the game was definitely slower, and the second half of the game was just which really got me hyped. It really wanted me to continue it back, and because we're at Ragnarok's doorstep. But getting to tier, getting into that mine, I will agree was a slog. A lot of the parts of the early game that, like I said earlier, I was jumping between God of War and Pokemon. Well, I haven't touched Pokemon in a few weeks because I finally got to a point in God of War. I want to say when Freya, like when Kratos and Freya really started traveling together, that is when I really became more invested in the game. It's like, no, I need to beat this. I got the drive. I got the drive to play this video game and to go through it and beat as much as I can. Because it was that perfect mesh of not only am I playing this game because I have commitments I need to fulfill, but I want to play this game because I am having fun playing it. Definitely the first 5 hours is definitely, it's like going to Svartalfheim for the first time. That's awesome. But God, that mine, I hate it.
I just felt like, and again, if this were the second game in a trilogy, I wouldn't feel bad about it. But like, we spend so much time, I feel like not doing much to get to an ending that we rushed to get to.
Yeah.
And I found that kind of baffling. And you can tell that they didn't. they say that they made the decision early enough where it didn't impact development. I don't believe that. I don't believe that they thought they were only making one game at the start of this game. I don't believe that. Mm-hmm. I don't think it shows in the game that we played.
No, it really doesn't. And Ben brought up Freya, and so I'll use that as a good point, jumping off point to talk a little bit about Freya. Maybe we can dive into her.
I love Freya.
I really like what they do with her in this game when she's on screen.
Yeah.
So I really like what they do with her being, the thirst for vengeance to try to fight, to try to kill Kratos because of what happened to Baldur. Mm-hmm. And Kratos showing we're saying, no, we don't want to attack her, we don't want to fight her, we don't want to kill her, she's our friend. And like being wrangled into doing the Vanaheim stuff, which I really like the Vanaheim map. I think it's a really pretty, and I really like the mechanic that you can change the time of day. Mm-hmm. And you have a lot of really good dialogue moments talking to Freya about what you did in Greece when you killed your daughter. When you're talking about your brother Deimos, which is fun deep cut,
which is from the PSP games.
Yeah, and Freya kind of learning. There's a lot of steps. There's a lot of talking about like Freya learning to forgive Kratos and doing a lot of that story. And that's all really good. And then the rest of her story happens off screen. And I was very upset about that.
Freya is probably, I don't want to say my favorite character because I think there's a lot of great characters, but like when I was with Freya, she is my favorite character.
Yeah.
I know that's a weird thing to say. My biggest problem is I think she has like the best quest in the game, and it's a side quest. Her side quest to like get the marriage stuff from Odin and stuff. I'm like, this should have been main quest shit, because that stuff is valuable and it's important, and you get so much insight into who Freya is and her relationship with Odin. She married him, and it was like an arrangement or whatever, and she liked it at the time. She was also maybe a bad person, and then she grew up and realized he's the worst person imaginable to be married to, and it's like all that stuff you can miss. Yeah. And that bums me out because all of the best stuff with her is off screen if you don't look for it.
So since we're talking about some off screen and some side quest stuff, there is one thing about this game that truly is my biggest.
Wait, is this about Freya? Because I have one more thing I want to talk about Freya.
It's not about Freya, but you do your thing, then we'll jump into my thing.
So I just want to real quickly explain what I mean by like a lot of her development happens off screen afterwards, because once she pairs off with Freyr,
the worst character in the game.
She has all these adventures, connecting with Freyr, finding the Valkyries, getting an army, all that stuff. All that stuff happens off screen. Why the hell didn't we see any of that? Why isn't that part of the game? Why aren't we still with Freya? And because of that, I feel like Freyr's sacrifice means nothing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So let me tell you, Freyr. We'll back it up. God of War 2018. That is a tight game. There are no wasted characters. No one's introduced, and I think they don't deserve to be here. I think all the characters are good. We get a much bigger cast in this game. Obviously, it's a sequel. That makes sense. We got to introduce a lot of people. Freyr, that dude sucks.
Yeah.
First of all, he doesn't sound like anyone else. It's Brett Dalton. It's Ward from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Oh, yeah.
He just sounds like a California dude. He just shows up and he's supposed to be really important, and he has a cool boat that we don't use. I guarantee you that is a cut thing from the game. Why would they introduce that boat thing only for us to never use it?
We only use it
once.
Yeah, to go to the crater. That's it.
Yeah, I guarantee that was a cut thing. Also, we're in. So I don't care about Freyr or when he dies. I could not care less. There's a big dude on that boat who gets killed by a dragon. Everyone's really dramatic about it. I didn't know who that guy was. That was the least. Say it again.
Ragnarok.
Sure. I save him 20 hours later in the crater when I go do the extra stuff. But when that dude gets killed, or quote unquote killed by the dragon on the boat, it's this huge dramatic scene and everyone's freaking out. I'm like, you literally just introduced him to me. I don't know who that is. I cannot care about this character. I didn't know who he was.
And Freyr's sword. We're talking about a little bit about how Ragnarok is rushed. When that sword shows up at Freyr, I was like, okay. So I guess that's how that connected.
Yeah, because that was Ingrid. That's Ingrid. That was the sword of Tracy.
That is real Norse lore or whatever. That he did have a flying sword, but like it felt like it was like, oh, we need to connect it to something. It's his sword.
I have another issue that I want to bring up, but Ben started talking about a little something before.
This we're not talking about. This isn't me talking about story, but it's also still going to like the game mechanics and stuff about the game and whatnot. My biggest gripe with this game, And even when I say biggest gripe, I'm not gonna like say it's a horrible thing because games do this every once in a while. It happens. I'm just kind of annoyed when they do. It's when side quests are locked post game.
Okay.
What was
Now,
that?
now, in God of War 2018, one of my favorite things to do was find up like and with a lot of action RPGs and RPGs in general. One of the things I do strive towards is I'd like to get as overpowered as I possibly can, and be prepared for the final boss gauntlet. Because in a lot of games, the final boss gauntlet truly tests your abilities, and yo boy likes to come prepared to beat some ass. And in God of War 2018, that happened with the Valkyries. If you're able to kill all the Valkyries, you get some of the best armor in the game. The same with the Muspelheim trials, the Surtur trials. You get some of the best gear to go in and just kick ass and take names. You cannot do that in God of War 2018 or God of War Ragnarok because one of the Berserker stones is blocked off endgame. It's the one in Niflheim, and also the trolls.
Oh, you're right. You can't get to the one in Niflheim until you're right.
Exactly. And not to degrade post-game content because post-game content happens a lot. But I mean, thankfully, there was still a lot of side quests I could do. I did all the side quests in the creator. I got like the build I have on Kratos right now is dragon armor with the crystal gauntlets and the crystal waistband. And I got that all up to maximum, so I'm able. So to me, that's like
the one that slows time. Is that the one that slows time when you dodge?
No, dodge? That's the Berserker one. I think.
Okay, that's the one I have. I don't think it's a Berserker one.
It's not a Berserker one.
There is a Realm Tear Gauntlet that allows you to that if you do a perfect dodge, time slows down for like a brief moment. It's great. I use it all the time. I love it.
Yeah, I use the Heimdall sword for that one. I just have that as a relic, but. To me, like going into the final fight being overpowered, and even like the Ragnarok armor that Lunda can make you before Ragnarok.
Oh, Lunda!
I love Lunda, but dear God, that armor sucks.
Yeah, the Ragnarok armor, the Destiny armor that she gives you sucks.
It's absolute garbage. And then it's like I got this sick dragon armor with these crystal gauntlets and this crystal waistband that's like already 10 times better.
Yeah,
and just to me, I mean, don't get me wrong, I was already overpowered going to the final fight. But something was just bugging me because a lot of times if I am trying to complete a game, I like completing it before I get to the final. Like the final boss is the final nail in the coffin of all the stuff I need to beat.
You know what, Ben? I'm going to actually say that's a feature of this game that I quite like. The fact that there are things that you can't do until the game is over. Like, for example, there's the you know what, Ben? You didn't beat the game before we're doing this, so I might spoil something for you.
This is spoiler mode, baby.
We're in spoiler mode, dude.
Oh, did you find Tyr?
Yes.
Okay. The real Tyr.
I found the real Tyr. Yes.
Good. Right. Okay. So yes,
I literally did that. You told me to go back to Niflheim to the Raven Tree because there's another path there, and I walked down said path, and ta-da, there he is.
And I really like that because what I think this game has is some incredible post game content, things that you can only find after the game is over. And I really appreciate that it creates. While the game is long to begin with, it creates a longer experience because going after I was done, quite honestly, I wasn't ready. I wasn't satisfied. I wasn't ready. I wasn't satisfied with this game ending here. And there were more things to do that felt integral to the story, like through finding Thor's hammer and Alphon, which is awesome.
What's the kid who looks like Link? Ben, the blonde kid who's wearing like the Link outfit from Breath of the Wild. Skulder. Did you find him trying to get the coin out that you threw over the wall? You find he's trying to pull the coin that you threw off the wall or whatever.
In Asgard?
In Midgard, in the Lake of Nine.
In Midgard, yeah. I forget
when Odin gives Kratos a coin. Like passes to Asgard, free passes to Asgard. Essentially, it's at the beginning of the game. Kratos throws the coin and Atreus and Mimir are like good riddance. That landed in a pillar in the Lake of Nine that Skilder is trying to get out.
Okay,
I
haven't found Skilder yet, but I'm pretty sure because last time I saved it, I want to say I was in the Lake of Nine.
judging from the comments, that you didn't see the sleeping dragon that you can awaken as well.
No, but the second Grayson was kind enough to tell me where the dragon was, it makes sense because I want to say I saw this big giant dragon statue on Dragon Beach when I went to go take out the Asgard camp there, and I'm like, was that dragon statue there before? And now I realize, oh, I'm an idiot. Of course, it's on Dragon Beach.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, I'm trying not to be totally negative, but like it does bum me out a little bit that some of the extra content you get is just fighting the bosses from the previous game.
Yeah.
Because it's just trolls and dragons, which you fought in the last game. And there's no new animations. They're the same animations. You kill them over and over again. Which again, I understand.
And if you did the crater, you fought trolls and dragons. You fight a few trolls here and there. Those were fun fights. The dragons, I think, like you fought like three different. You fought like 3 different types of dragons. The Drakes, the ones that's behind Ryan right now. The Drakes were those big elephant, giant tusk looking things, and of course your standard dragons that fly and are actually really fun fights. I had a lot of fun fighting those monsters.
I loved the creator, like the fact that I discovered a new zone that's like, oh, here's extra 10 hours of content you can do. And I watched so many interviews with the creative director, and he's like, there was an experiment that this one guy wanted to do. He's like, can I put a zone within the zone? And he did it. And then they're like, wow, that's really cool. Let's build up upon that. And then we'll make it like its own little thing.
And there's a mystery. Really cool. There's a mystery around the crater that Freya had fought Thor. And that's why there's another lightning bolt. By the way, Deborah Ann Wool appears in this game as Freya. Beautiful, wonderful. She's great. I love her.
I'm glad I didn't get that spoiled for me. Because by no one's the actors themselves are spoiling it. They're like, hey, it's been 3 days, I'm in God of War Ragnarok, and like, give some people a chance.
Because Bear McCreary was like the one I saw was like, hey, I'm in this game. I'm like, that's cool, man, good for you.
Bear McCreary I want to be upset about because he plays
Rob. He plays Rob.
He's the guy who hangs out with the
Derlin,
the contractor guy.
Derlin.
Dwarf. There you go. Yeah. Fun fact. This game it's beautiful. It's gorgeous, right? I had two bugs that has never really happened on a super high budget game like this before. Like, Last of Us, Ghost of Tsushima, all these games. Bear McCreary's model looked like it was from the PS3 when I was talking to him for the first time. It's like his pictures did not load in, so he looked like a square monster. And I'm just like, this is just a bummer on my case. And I had a second bug, which is a game-breaking bug that happened at the end of the game. Where after I beat Odin, you have the long walk at the end and you basically check in with everyone. Like, oh, you're doing this. And like, it's like a long, long hallway and it takes forever. Well, the door that's supposed to open at the end doesn't open. So I'm just walking around going, what did I miss? And then I look it up and I watch a video of you opening the door automatically. And I'm like, well, I guess I have to redo this. So I have to do that thing for 15 minutes again. At least I beat it.
I don't know if this is it's not really a game. It's not a game-breaking bug. It's just something that to me is really annoying because when you go into the shop to upgrade weapons, there's like little exclamation parts on the bottom of the bar that tell you, hey, there's something you could upgrade. For the longest time, I don't know when exactly this happened. There's an exclamation. It's still freaking there too. There's an exclamation mark over my weapons, and I go through all my weapon tabs to see what's there to do, and it's nothing new. It's all the weapons I've gathered.
I have the same bug.
Pisses me off because it's like I don't have it. I upgraded the handles I want. I upgraded the stuff I want. It's all upgraded. My Blades of Chaos, Leviathan, Dropnir, they're all good. They're all maxed out. All the stuff I like on those weapons is maxed out. What the F am I missing? And it's still there and still pisses me the F off. It's not, it's odd because it's just something that's like, hey, there's something here. I was like, no, there's fucking not.
No, that would bother the shit out of me too. I get you.
Yeah, I have the same bug. I want to talk about a positive.
Yes, positive.
I really like Angrboda.
I do too.
I think in Norse mythology, not to talk about the source material, in Norse mythology, Angrboda is nothing. She is called the mother of monsters, and she only exists to birth the three monster giants of Ragnarok, Jormungandr, Fenris, and Hela. And after that, before and after that, she does not appear in mythology. And that sucks because that's just what that's how it is.
She just goes up and hangs out with the anti-monitor.
So what I really like about this is that they make Angrboda a kind of a guiding hand for Atreus up until the moment that it's prophesized, and then she's wondering, well, what's next for me? What do I do next? Nothing. I guess I don't know what. And then I really like that kind of agency of like, I'm not just here for your prophecy. I'm and that's how their love story creates, because Atreus, Loki, is telling her like, no, you shouldn't be just prophecy for me. You should be your own giant. And why don't you go find the other Jotuns?
Yeah.
I think and I really like that story, and I really like that inclusion.
I do too. I think besides the fact that I don't like the section itself that she's in, I think she is a great character.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also agree. I'm not the biggest fan of Ironwood until we get to her grandma. That's fun.
That's my favorite part of the game. Fighting big grandma when everything's big. Oh my god, I wanted to do that forever. That was so fun.
Yeah. But I also want to say good on the writers, because they take something about prophecy or people who prophesize stuff, and there's something that we don't really talk about a whole lot. Is like, what do we do after the prophecy?
Yeah,
like like Brandon, you just mentioned Angerboda's part of how she's like, no, this is my destiny, this is what I do, and then she's like, and she does the thing, and she's like, well, shit, what do I do now? And then Atreus is there, is like, whatever the heck you want, baby, do what you gotta do.
And it's weighing on her from the moment you meet her, because she has been preparing for Atreus to show up. So what happens when he's gone? There is nothing that no one talks about Angerboda after Atreus leaves Ironwood. So what does she do next? And I really appreciate that level of story, which ties into like the whole idea of fate and that the fate is bullshit theme that we're doing in this game. Because when we meet the Norns, and they're just like, no, there's no such thing as fate. We just predict you. We're just so good at predicting what you're going to do.
You're predictable.
You're all predictable. And so I really like that sequence. Again, too short.
Yeah.
Anyway. So I really like
Angerboda. When you have Angerboda as a companion, she throws like paint. That shit looks so cool. That's like this big paint burst. And I'm like, man, every time you get a new companion and they have their own cool abilities that they do, like you even get Sindri at one point on your team. Yeah. I'm like, I'm surprised how many people keep like interchanging as a homie. That's like, it was really cool.
Yeah,
Kratos and Brock as a partnership was great.
That's yeah.
I really liked when Thrud comes in to help.
Yeah,
I love Thrud. Thrud is one of my. Thrud is. I love Angerboda, but man, Thrud is definitely one of my favorite characters in this game. I like when the second she shows up and you think that she wants you dead for what she did to her brothers, but then she's like, "You did what you got to do, so we're doing this shit now. So let's go explore."
Because she's told by her mother, it's like, no, Magni and Modi were assholes.
Mm-hmm.
It's time to let them go. They deserved it, quite frankly.
Yeah,
yeah.
So does Thor. Until he doesn't, I guess.
Oh my god.
Well, but that's the thing. So, like, I really like Atreus, because you brought up Thrud. I really like Atreus on Asgard. And most of what I really like, I fully admit, is because I think the Asgard stuff with Atreus on Asgard is some of the strongest stuff. And I think I feel that way because I think Richard Schiff as Odin is astoundingly good.
Great. Oh yeah. Like I have no problems with any of the performances in the game at all.
Oh no, Richard Schiff. Just to see Ryan Hurst, who played Opie in Sons of Anarchy,
that's
come
so
back,
crazy.
and just the fact that he's doing something like this and he just kills it. Like when I'm in Muspelheim and I'm exploring with him in Muspelheim and in Niflheim, it's just like the parts with Thor and like especially at the end of the Muspelheim bit where he's like he tells Loki, he's like, Loki, you're a good kid, but you gotta be careful, you know? It's like, oh, they do care. But we're working for a master manipulator and a psychopath.
Because that's what some of this everything with Odin. I think Odin is really well written. I really like the idea of like this kind of like snake tongue devil. Like I even got to the point where I was like, no, I believe you, Odin. I'm with you, Odin, because like he keeps Thor drunk because that's the only way you can control Thor, and he doesn't value Thor at all. But he also,
I don't think Odin values anyone but himself.
Right,
he just uses it when he needs to.
But he pretends to, especially Heimdall and especially Loki. But Thor is the one where he's completely mask off. Like he does not pretend to like Thor, and that's really messing with Thor. But that's how Odin controls Thor.
Yeah,
he can control everyone else with his silver tongue. Like, oh, I actually care about you when I really don't. He can't Thor because Thor is desperate for the attention.
My favorite mask from Son of the Mask, starring Jamie Kennedy. Because that Loki mask.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's a mythology. So I thought, did we need to collect 3 pieces of the mask?
Did we need to collect the mask?
It's the give and the take, because like I'm happy that I got to spend time with all these characters, but like that's like 5 hours of you just going to get something,
and it doesn't matter.
In the end, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, he breaks it, and it goes back into the tear, and that's definitely what starts the fight with Odin.
I don't know if I needed resolution with like the mask, or like an actual truth, or Odin looking in. Like, I don't know if I needed any resolution for that, but like it felt like it kind of just like pooted out at the end with all that stuff. And it's like,
I don't know if I needed it either, but I needed a resolution that wasn't just actually the mask didn't matter to the story. So those 5 hours that you did, sorry.
Yeah. I would say I was hoping for a little something more with the mask, especially since like maybe Atreus would betray Odin, put it on, and look into the truth of creation, see truth, or
I thought that's what was going to happen.
I was hoping for something like that, and but yeah, the fact that he breaks it was like I saw it coming from a mile away. It's like he's either going to put it on himself or he's going to break it. One of these two things is going to happen.
Or Odin, or what I thought, Odin was going to put it on and go crazy after you fought him. So here's I said a positive anger vote, so now I'll give it a negative, and I'll do a positive after, kind of make a nice sandwich.
Love it.
The boss battles, while I do like the gods that we meet, for the final game of Norse mythology, it's not big enough for me. And like, I understand that 2018 set the bar, set a different standard for God of War games, that bigger wasn't always better. And I understand that. And I understand that this is very much like, you know, open your heart to suffering and pain and destiny be damned and blah, blah, blah. But if Ragnarok is the war to end all wars, I did not get that from this game.
Yeah.
You know what would have helped? Is if maybe Jormungandr wasn't a background character and Surtur was just kind of doing a motion every now and then.
Dude, the build up, like you going to Surtur, meeting Surtur, I'm like, this dude's vibe is really weird and I love it. His wife has got his heart, he's got her, whatever. This is all dope. I love Norse mythology. Like him becoming the big monster at the center of the cosmos. All that shit is so cool. And then I think it's going to turn into like a big God of War game, and it kind of just doesn't do that.
And you know what? Honestly, sorry, Ben, real quickly. Honestly, this is the game to have done the big God of War game. Like, I don't know if I needed it to, but like, so like, what if instead of Thor and Jormungandr just kind of fighting until you trigger Jormungandr to go back in time?
Way in the background. What if you were fighting Thor on top of Jormungandr, and that was a boss battle instead of just kind of outside of Asgard? Like, so what if there was some more interesting set pieces rather than just kind of running down a track for Ragnarok? What if it was bigger? What if it was a third game? No, yeah. It's really tricky because like I understand, I 100% get, like it takes 4 to 5 years to make one of these games. They don't want to work on one franchise for 15 years. I get that. Because this is God of War, this is a Sony first party. This is their big, hey, we get one of these a year. This is the big one, right? This is our Marvel big blockbuster. Like, we just kind of expect more. It's specifically because, like you said, Brandon, that God of War 2018 is one of the greatest pieces of video games ever made. Like, they set the bar too high. And it's not that this game is bad in any way, but it just feels like none of the highs are as high as that first game. When I think of the finale of that first game, it's those 2 giant things, and you're on top of those guys. And I'm like, I just don't know. I don't know with the trajectory of how this game starts to where it gets to. Like, I don't know. Garm is my favorite fight in the game. I think that's the coolest. When I told you guys, I feel like I'm playing God of War again, it's that entire Garm section, because they made that level to be a boss level where Garm is throughout the entire level. He's everywhere. You have to fight him in a big arena. That's when I felt like the most like this is God of War, and I got the new weapons and I'm doing so much cool shit. And then it kind of fizzles out, and like the fight with Thor again is cool. I think the fight with Odin is fine. I think it's a totally. I was expecting it to be so crazy, and he's just like throwing lightning at you, and I'm like,
Honestly, the Heimdall fight was my favorite fight.
Heimdall rules.
Heimdall's great.
Garm was my second favorite fight. The fight with Heimdall is good, but I do agree that the fight with Odin, like, yes, correct me if I'm wrong, that Odin's a 2-stage fight, correct?
Yeah, but like, Ben, we played Elden Ring. How, a second phase means he turns into a giant snake monster.
There was a point. The fight with Odin, definitely. I mean, look, hard fight. But at the end of it, you're right. I was expecting more. I was expecting him to get on his four-legged horse to start trotting around and be a true
Whoa.
What's this?
Or
Sleipnir? What's his name?
8-legged horse. Sleipnir, thank you.
That's
okay.
what I meant.
Sleipnir can't exist because he is Loki's child.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that bit.
But weirdly, so this is kind of the thing about mythology that gets me going. Weirdly, the wall is already built, but the giant who created the wall, his horse is Sleipnir's father, and Loki is Sleipnir's mother. So Sleipnir should have already been born. Weird, right?
Normangander, go back in time.
I mean, but that's more of a late in 2018 they made Atreus Loki.
Right.
That wasn't always the plan.
Yes, that's true. Okay. Do you remember how all the giants were dead at the end of God of War, and they're all, and then no, that was a trap to trick Odin. So the entire thing you did at the end of the game doesn't really matter that you saw those dead giants. They weren't really dead. Don't worry about it.
Well, I mean, yeah, because they put their souls in marbles. But one of the things that I do like, is how they interpret Ragnarok, when they're just like, actually, Ragnarok's not the destruction of the 9 realms; it's the destruction of Asgard. And the giant who prophesized it didn't want Odin to know that. And I think that's pretty cool.
This is okay. So this is a great thing. This is a great point to bring up Tyr and how Tyr was Odin the whole time. And there are clues the entire time. Like, just there's videos out online that you can see. Like, there's raven feathers in his cell when you go to get Tyr. There's a dude who spits on you when you enter Svartalheim, and that's Odin in disguise. All the people that Odin is disguised as are in that prison that you go to free Tyr at the end of the game. Lots of cool stuff. When he sees that vision, that Asgard is actually the one to get destroyed, Tyr freaks out, and that's not something Tyr should freak out about. And I didn't catch it, and nobody else caught it until afterwards. But I think that is a pretty cool thing that was there.
That bit got spoiled for me by YouTube.
Oh,
like it wasn't a YouTube video that I was trying to watch. I was like flipping, because you know how when you're on YouTube on your phone and they have those shorts things that in between videos. Yeah, that was the first thing. It says it's like signs that Odin was here. I'm like, God damn it! But
that's a bummer.
Yeah, but thankfully the reveal was still heartbreaking.
Mm-hmm. It's truly incredible. Like, honestly, it's the best part of the game story wise for me, because it's something that you don't see coming necessarily unless you're like really looking. Mm-hmm. And then when it happens, Brock is dead, and you're like, oh shit. Oh shit, Tyr's been Odin. And like, what I like about it so much is that Brock is the one to figure it out. And he doesn't quite know that he's Odin, but he's acting weird. It's like, wait, what's all this? Wait, how do you know how to get into Asgard all of a sudden? Why are you calling him Loki all of a sudden? What's going on? And like, he's like really pushing. And everyone's like, Brock, what the hell are you talking about? Brock. And he's the one to die. There's
a great again, like I didn't catch it, but nobody calls Freya Frigg but Odin. And when Tyr meets Freya, he says, Frigg, it's good to see you. I'm like, damn, that's good writing right there. That's pretty good. I like that.
I like the Tyr reveal a lot. And then like the kind of like the game after that being like, so like you feel it with the characters. Like, you feel angry. You're like, oh, I was betrayed by this person that we trusted Tyr.
Sindri. That dude's like a different person.
Sindri's messed up.
Yeah, like Sindri, and talking, like every time when Sindri is like at the end of the game with Atreus, like just Sindri's short, like being just the way he's so short with Loki, not pun on his height. Shut up. Shut it. Like the fact that he has that attitude, and that when they put Odin's soul in the marble and he's just the one just yank it out of Frey's head and smash it with the hammer, he's like, that's what happens next. And it's just like, oh, he just does not care.
And what I like about Sindri so much post game is that like he looks at Atreus, and like he's very, very apologetic about Atreus. Like Atreus turned into a bear and whacked him in the face, and he still goes to a path of forgiveness. Maybe not right away, but he's still like, and then like he's like, we gave you everything. We gave you our home. And you brought this thing into our home that killed my brother. And he's like so done with like what he sees as this selfish act that Atreus has been doing for years, because they've been working together for years. And he says it like, I give and I give and I give and I give, and you take and take and take, and you never give, and you never,
It's intense.
It's a really intense moment that I really like.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then like going to like again, like some people won't go to the funeral because they don't even know that like post game there's a funeral where you can roll credits. It's somebody I didn't realize this, but somebody brought it up when this is the first time, because you know how dwarves can shift between realms and they like disappear. This is the first time you actually see it happen in front of you. When after Brock dies, Sindri just vaporizes. He just disappears in between the folds, and you never see it happen on screen like that.
Well, I'll push back. I think you see it happen after Brock dies.
Like well, no, that's what I mean. Well, that's what I'm talking about. Sorry, yeah.
That's literally what he said.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you're right. It's the only time. Sorry, not the only time, because we see it later. It's the first time that happens, and it's a really powerful. I love it because like this, the background is getting darker, much more misty. Everyone is leaving the screen, and the camera gets closer and closer to Sindri, and then disappears, just right in front of us. It's a great moment.
Yeah, that is a good spot. Or a good moment.
I love Heimdall. I think he has a great fight. He's played by Scott Porter, who is great. He's played so many Marvel heroes. Now he gets to be Heimdall. He's Bucky in the Winter Soldier in the Avengers game. It's great. Heimdall's such a jerk. I love him. It was so great to be Kratos, and like Kratos is like, I'm not gonna kill him, not killing him. Me, done with killing. Shit, damn it.
Like. Here's a positive I'll finish my sandwich with. Kratos' story of trying to be better, of trying not to go down the path of vengeance, trying to avoid Ragnarok. Like because Atreus is like, what if we can't avoid it? It's like, we will. We're not going to fight this war.
We are not our fate.
We are not our fate. And like he's talking, and like when he realizes that Ragnarok is inevitable, that he has to fight in this Ragnarok, he's so angry. He's like, must all paths I take lead to vengeance? And like he's so rageful, he's so angry about it. He's just like, is this all I am? Is this all I'm meant to be in life? I think that's a really good storyline for Kratos to take in this game. And Christopher Judge is so good.
Oh yeah, I think oh, go ahead, Ben. You had a point, sorry.
Yeah, I was gonna say also like a lot of, I would say Oscar-worthy scenes are in this game.
Yeah,
the scene when Freya gets her freedom after killing.
That's so good. We're just ripping the vines of the
ripping the vine, and just like talking between the two of them, saying like, I denied you that choice, but I do not regret saving it. That scene, amazing. When Atreus comes
Side
back,
quest.
No, that was the second. That was the main quest.
No, that was the main quest. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then when Atreus comes back and Kratos hugs his kid after freaking out and going bare for him and releasing Garm, and just like Kratos just like,
everyone's so angry at Atreus for releasing Garm. Like even Mimir is like, what the hell were you thinking releasing Garm?
He says that Atreus fucked up, and that you never hear that language from Mimir to Atreus.
And Kratos is the one to be like, enough. We're going to deal with this. Atreus and I are going to go deal with this.
We made a new team, and we'll handle it.
Yeah. And then like when they have that heart to heart and about how like I want to say it was right after the reveal that Tyr was Odin the whole time, and then they're talking like they're hunting, and then they start talking to like Kratos goes, I've been slipping back into my old ways. I'm like all vengeance, everything, and then Atreus does, do not be sorry, be better.
Yeah. That's and like the line, the like parallel of like the first game was like, close your heart to the pain, close your heart to it all. To this game, by the end of it being like, open your heart to it, make you better. And I was wrong.
It's so great because like, yes, Kratos was a monster. Did he kill thousands of people? Absolutely. Did he destroy Greece by murdering its pantheon? Yes, he is potentially irredeemable. I will put this lotion down. I don't know why I keep holding it. To make a point like a pen, but like, like do people like that deserve second chances? Like this is a fake world, so I say yes because it's not the real world. We don't think about that, right? But like, however many years go by and he's like, I'm not the person I am, but what if I am? What if this is who I always will be? And what I love is like by the end of this game, it's like, Kratos, yeah, you might be that person, but you can use that for good too. And he ends up being like the general of the army, like quote unquote, when everyone thought it would be someone else, but it ends up being Kratos. And like, And then, oh my god, the thing at the end with like the prophecy of him like leading, he starts crying because like
he sees the statue, like
Mhm.
his future is a gold statue, and he's like, I never envisioned this path for myself.
yeah, people worshiping him as like a good god. Like
that scene, sorry to go back, after you get the spear and when Odin pops in for a hot second and you get that great trailer line with Odin's talking, is like, have you ever been loved? Has anyone ever worshipped you? Has anyone done anything but fear you? Do you know
Has anyone ever
is?
prayed? Has anyone ever prayed to you?
Yeah, and then seeing that Kratos not only becomes the new or he becomes a Norse god of war, I assume, because they built a statue of him, but the fact that they do revere him, they do look at him with respect and with reverence instead of fear and hatred like he was in Greece. It's like he never thought he would know this piece, and he's like, you know what, the work is there is the fact when he starts crying, and I just love the single shot work. Once again, to me, Oscar moment when it's a single shot of him and he's saying goodbye to Atreus and he turns around, he sees the shrine, but then sees the backside and sees the whole thing. Mm-hmm. That whole part was just like, he finally got it. He finally got the happy ending he deserves this whole time. Because even at the end of the very first God of War game, 2005, he's about to kill himself, but Athena goes, nope. You're the new God of War. Have fun.
You're gonna be the new God of War. Yeah, I like the I really like the scene because you brought it up. I really like the scene where he's saying goodbye to Atreus. I think it's really well written, and it's a really tender moment between two characters who ultimately have good story arcs in this game, regardless of if the second half is rushed or not. I think ultimately, like the story arcs are good in this game.
Sending your kid to college is always a hard thing to do. Sending your baby boy to become a baby man. It is always hard. I just man. Baby man. It just bums me out because like we live in a world of business. We talked about it with movies earlier. Like there will be another God of War game. It won't be anytime soon, and it won't be by Cory Barlog because that dude almost killed himself making that first game. That's why somebody else directed this game. I am so curious what they're gonna do. If this feels like an ending for Kratos, a really, really great ending for Kratos. He doesn't have to fight anyone ever again. Like he won, he became a hero. I don't want him to fight ever again. Like it makes sense for it to be about Atreus. I don't need him to fight another pantheon. Why would he be fighting gods? I don't know if I need another God of War after this. I just wish, like, I don't know what I want with this franchise anymore. You know what I mean? Like it's such an interesting place to rest for a bit.
I have to agree. Now, I get it. God of War is Sony's bread and butter, or it's one of their biggest selling franchises.
Last of Us premiering tonight.
Okay, one of their breads and butters.
Yeah.
But yeah, God of War Ragnarok brought in so much money, and it also brings in. It's one of those franchises that when you say PlayStation, that's one of the first franchises you think of. That's being a PlayStation original. And obviously, this probably won't be the last God of War game. But at the exact same time, the fact that you just said that, if Kratos' story ended here, and we go to Atreus or we go to someone else, we go to Egypt and we see the Egyptian God of War, and we just put Kratos behind, I'm okay with that.
I don't know. I've been thinking about this a lot. Like, I'm greedy, so like I'll always kind of want more. So like if you want to make another Kratos game and he's fighting the Egyptian gods or he's fighting the Chinese gods or he's fighting the Hindu gods, whatever, I'll play it. And I'm sure there could be a good story there. I don't know if that's the direction I necessarily think they should take. I would definitely like to see Atreus. But I would definitely like to see Atreus as a lead of a game. I think that's kind of where I'm following the most of like the next game in 15,000 years, whenever the hell they want to do it, would be about Atreus. And I think Atreus is a character that I would like to follow as a main character of a game.
I wasn't joking about the sending your kid to college thing. Like that's what this feels like. It feels like it feels like a send off of like not just like the end of this era, but like Kratos got his happy ending. I don't want him to kill anymore. Let put the blades down. I don't need. He has a future with Freya, whether they're friends or maybe a little more on the side. They got some great chemistry. They could live for 1,000 years. They can get over their exes and whatever. They're both dead.
I was curious about like the lifespan of a god, because clearly clearly Kratos is older than he was before. He's graying. There's some gray in his beard. I was curious about, like, is he actually immortal, or would he die? Obviously, it's a longer life than a mortal.
We see him like literally heal wounds, and the other in the Norse gods also do that. So I think they're. I don't know. Actually,
yeah. See, like,
I don't know.
I'm curious about that. I think if I want to see Kratos do another Pantheon murder, I'd probably want it to be set between the trilogy and these two games. There's a comic.
A better idea. Yeah.
There's a comic that he like passes by Egypt and he's like, do that story. Like so we know, like, canonically he went to Norse through way of Egypt. So okay, like, there's your pathway to do an Egypt game, and you have Kratos, and maybe it is the God of War game that all the incels want it to be. But I think any future games, probably I'd prefer it if it were Atreus.
Yeah. I mean, to be perfectly honest, I'm at the end of this game, I know I don't need another God of War game for a good long while. Unlike 2018, because 2018 had, as what everyone calls it, the MCU ending, where Thor is at it's like you have this cloaked figure. Who are you? He flips the cape, and it's Mjolnir. It's revealed to be, oh my god, it's Thor.
Meow meow.
But now that we got that ending, or now that we got this game's ending, like, Kratos has the happy ending, Atreus is going off exploring and find the rest of the Jotnar, and we just have some really fun endgame stuff to do. I am totally fine with waiting for another God of War game for a good long while. I am content.
I think my aversion to waiting and not getting another Kratos story comes from just the satisfaction I feel after being done with this game. Yeah. I do not think this game is as satisfying of a story as the 2018 game, and therefore I'm still kind of sitting there going, like, okay, but more? No, and story-wise, I know that's not the organic way to go, but, like, I don't know.
Hard launch. No, it really is a bummer. And again, like, I understand studio not wanting to dedicate their entire life to one franchise. But, like, this game started as a trilogy and it ended as a duology. So like, there's just some stuff that's got to be cut. There's some stuff that's got to be rushed. I think, again, we talk about, like, the story stuff's really good and the character stuff's really good, but at the end of the day, this is still a video game that you have to play. We're not watching a movie. We're playing a video game for 40 hours. So I think a great thing to do is you fight Heimdall early and you lose intentionally. So you get the drop near earlier, and then you can progress by the time you get to Heimdall. Then you're like, you have it, you're cool with it. He's not expecting it. Cause I just think it shouldn't take you an entire game's worth to get a new weapon for a sequel. It's like, I think it takes way too long for the game to evolve, because you get the wolf stuff, but you're only playing as Atreus half the time. You're still playing as Kratos most of the game. So, like, it is an iterative game with a really great story. It's just, unfortunately, like, I wanted this to be the jump that, like, The Last of Us 2 had. Like, this is playable on PlayStation 4. And, like, at the end of the day, they had to make this game for PlayStation 4 players. And sometimes it feels like it. It technically looks great, but, like, I can still tell, like, this is not a giant open world. I'm crawling through 45 ducks every couple minutes. Like,
you're absolutely right. I saw your tweet about the quote unquote loading screens.
It's really noticeable after a while.
There's
the ones where you go under the river and you go like this in your boat. I'm like, who's building rivers like this? Who's building their architecture like this?
I could that was definitely, there are times where I was playing spot the loading screen every once in a while.
There's a scene that I want to highlight, which is when you fight the Valkyries after Surtur takes a dive into the heart of the universe or whatever.
I was trying to mention that earlier about how much I love that fight, and also you get
the ending of the fight. The ending of the fight is what I want to highlight real quickly, Ben. When it's Kratos and Atreus as a bear, just kind of back to back. I was like, oh baby!
I am so mad I did not hit the screenshot button fast enough to get that shot.
Oh my god!
My God, is so good.
You know what that reminded me, Brian? You know what that moment
Guardians of the Galaxy?
Yes, 100%. You know the moment.
Fin Fing Foom? Oh yeah. 100%.
Fin Fing Foom's in Guardians?
Spoilers.
And is he in Guardians? Oh, he's a lot in Guardians.
I haven't played the Guardians game, so
that's a great game. Where were we just talking about? Crap, before Guardians.
The Atreus and the bear.
Right.
Atreus as a bear at the double pack.
This game made me emotional a couple times. I am not joking. That boss fight was intense. It was so fun. The dual fights in the bear. When that Tekken tag team tournament moment happened, and it's the back-to-back, I'm not gonna lie, I shed a little tear because I'm like, yeah, because like they're posing. It feels like a movie moment. Like it's so that is like my big fist pump of the game. That moment, so good.
You know what part really gave me the feels?
What was that?
A hole.
Oh,
I don't know what you're talking about, Ben.
I haven't played this game in a month.
It's when Mimir finally figures out Brock's riddle.
Oh, Brock's riddle.
Oh, I'll tell you what. I'll be honest. It's 20 hours too late, I think.
I think the moment is supposed to be that he figures it out at the funeral.
No, I understand, but I think I forgot all about it for so long. I'm like, oh yeah, it is. Nice.
You know, because there were times. Okay, so the moment really hit me because there was probably like RNG phrases, because you know how when you're exploring the world, there's RNG phrases and RNG things that they say every once in a while to break, to like, you know, to put some dialogue in and stuff, and they repeat every once in a while. I want to say it was like right before I started Ragnarok where Mimir was like still angry about the riddle. He was like, "Gah!" And then we get into Ragnarok, and then the reveal happens. We get into Ragnarok and everything, and then when Mimir, like the line was said just enough, like right enough before Brock's death that I remembered it, and when he finally realized what the solution was, I was like, "Son of a bitch!"
Oh, I like how Brock finds out that he was dead.
That was a good scene.
Part of his soul's missed. Oh, the mermaid!
The mermaid wouldn't look at him, wouldn't acknowledge him.
The lady wouldn't acknowledge his existence.
The lady of the lake
and we already know that this happened. Because Sindri told us, but like he figures it out. He's like, that son of a bitch, I was dead.
I love Mimir bringing up other like Celtic mythology. Like he definitely brings up the Lady of the Lake once. It's a random like an RNG thing, like you said, Ben. Did you guys get the PlayStation All-Stars thing where he's like, once you fought the greatest musician ever, and a boombox man, and a robot man, and like, it's so good.
He's like,
I played the game so long. When I'm driving the wolves, they don't talk anymore.
Oh yeah, they're just quiet. Yeah.
I went through all the language options.
Oh, yeah. Did you guys find one of Caspier's poems? I noticed it because this was the only time I noticed the cover of the poem. The cover of the poem had Ratchet on it from Ratchet. Clank. It had Clank.
Did you read any of those poems?
Yeah, I read them.
Okay, good. They're all PlayStation video games.
Yeah, I didn't realize
every single one is a PlayStation video game.
That's cool.
Real quick, we didn't talk about some of the great side quests. Big old whale man. There's a big old whale in this game.
Big old whale. I like him.
Big year for whales.
I liked him.
I did too.
He was cool. I like the kind of like, you know, the allegory to Kratos' own chains and Mimir's being locked up to the whale. He's like, why isn't he leaving? It's like, because he can't.
He doesn't know anything else. This is his life now. Like the big like redemption and like, you know, like feeling bad for what you did, and like you got eventually you have to kind of get over it. Like you did a bad thing, you recognize it, you guys got to be better about it, and that is so many of these side quests. There's really great side quests, and then you just have the random ones with like the dudes who are like, "Hello, I'm a ghost," and I'm like, "Well, here these there." Like, here's a morality tale for you. My son died. I'm like, "Oh, that's Atreus, isn't it?" Like,
I did not mind. I didn't mind the ghosts too much in this one.
They were fine, but they were fine. That's
once a ghost popped up, and once again, I love doing side quests, to be perfectly honest, because I know side quests gets me three things: loot, money, XP.
I podcast when I did this.
I'm gonna run through some notes.
Run it.
Because we're getting a little late right now. So.
Yeah.
Okay, so Jormungandr. I want to talk a little bit about Jormungandr. So Jormungandr and Fenris, I actually really enjoy how they incorporated them being Loki and Angerboda's children. Because Jormungandr being a soul given to a snake and made into a bigger snake. I also do like the idea that they've made the idea canon that Jormungandr was actually thrown back through time due to the fight in Ragnarok. And so when they see Jormungandr, it's like, Jormungandr looks different. Why does he look younger? I was like, does he? I guess so. He's too far away for me to tell.
Yeah.
And then
it is a great little moment. I do wish it was a little more like impactful.
Yeah,
but that's just like a fan service thing I want, I guess. So.
And then Fenris being a dog that a wolf that Atreus had adopted, who passed away in the beginning of the game, who I sobbed a little bit.
Talk about rude. Make us cry in like the first minute of your game.
Right, rude.
It's like people like, I want to see the movie The Dog Dies. First 20 minutes of the game, the dog dies.
We love
and then being a soul that's get brought into Garm because Garm was soulless, and that was why they couldn't defeat him. All good stuff. Really like that idea. The thing that bugs me a little bit is because Jormungandr was kind of a big part of the 2018 game. I was very disappointed at how little of a part he was in this game.
Yeah, same.
Especially because we should have seen him get bigger. We should have gotten to know this new young Jormungandr.
Yeah, it's the thing I always talk about, like real estate. You know, you have so much time. This is a 40-hour game, and we spend a lot of it walking around, talking around, which is great. It's all great. It's like, great. Like I love a good walk and talk, but like I think about the stuff that was set up from 2018, and then there's new stuff in this game that they have to capitalize on like first, and I'm like, there's so much. Jormungandr was so big and cool, and like the last time you see him, he's like in the background. I'm like, that just feels like a bummer.
Too bad
and then he disappears. Jormungandr, the old Jormungandr who fought in Ragnarok prior, the one that you met in 2018, he disappears after Ragnarok with no explanation. And they asked the game director, like, what happened? What happened to him? He's like, oh, he's sleeping.
We couldn't afford that model at the time. Yeah,
he's under
there is one thing I do. There is a cool element. I do wish the finale was bigger and more bombastic, but there was something about how big the scale is for the story they're telling about how Odin is using Midgard humans as collateral damage. And I think that stuff's really great because it's Kratos realizing it's the same stuff that he used to do when he was a Greek soldier, a million years ago in Greece when that place existed. So there's some really great humanity happening with the whole party of like, Odin is the worst and we all know it. And we could see him. He's killing people to stop us. And I think all that stuff's really great. Again, it is a God of War game. You expect some type of spectacle. And like, again, I think of that final boss battle with Baldur. And then I think of this final boss battle with Odin. I'm just like, it's just not. It doesn't feel the same.
I just didn't look. I was never bored in this game. I'll put that out there right now. There was just no big spectacle moment, and like I understand that probably that was the intention to kind of go smaller, but there is something to be said about a God of War game being the God of War game.
Yeah, especially since. Especially since the ending of 2018's God of War essentially turned into a fight from Attack on Titan.
Yeah, that was cool.
But also, it's still emotional. Mm-hmm. Like you can have both. You can have scale. It's my favorite thing. You can have big scale and big emotions at the same time. Like Freya just lost her son. Like that's a powerful moment after that big fight. And I just don't feel like they don't capitalize on that type of thing enough in this game.
Right.
Although the grandma troll fight, that is a big different thing that I really appreciate in this game. I thought I had so much fun having to jump from her big ass table to a stool. Like that's awesome.
Yeah, that was fun. I enjoyed that. I mentioned I do really like the Norn scene. I like how they visualize all the new gods and all the Norns. The water horse that we meet for 0.25 seconds.
Spooky. Yeah.
The other realms I think are well designed. I do really like how they interpret Asgard being like this, not this big golden hall, but this like humble place. And like even when Heimdall is talking to Atreus, like, oh, I thought Asgard, and Atreus, why? Odin is humble. He would never do that.
Odin's so humble. He's so
humble, guys.
Saves his money.
God, I hate him so much. I was so glad that was like the one god I was like, I'm glad I get to kill you.
You know what? I'll say it. I wanted to kill more gods. We killed the entire Greek pantheon. Maybe we killed 4 gods in this franchise.
Be better.
No.
Here's the thing, and this is this is not a real conversation I'm having, but it's just something I'm going to bring up, and it's something called ludonarrative dissonance, and it's where you have a problem with the story of God of War Ragnarok is be better, don't kill. But the entire point of the game is to kill things. That's what you do in the game.
Yes.
So we can't actually have this conversation about Kratos being a better person when you kill 5,000 monsters. Not just kill them, rip them apart. You don't have to be so brutal, Kratos. So it's a type of thing where, like, when you try to tell stories like this, it's the same thing with The Last of Us 2. It's about, you don't need to be such a murderer. When you spend 20 hours murdering people, maybe actually you do. So I just wanted to bring it up because it's a fun story of like, Kratos, stop murdering so many people, but don't worry about the 10,000 nameless creatures you just killed. They're not important.
Well, you're absolutely.
That's a bigger conversation that I actually don't really want to have.
But then they also, like, I just kind of real quickly, like they also bring up like, oh, to kill them will be to set them free, like with the berserkers. Oh, you'll set their souls free if you kill them.
Yeah. That's like, no, we get to kill for a purpose.
Not only that, Mimir says like, oh no, we get to stuff the king's soul into the hilt of the sword, and then we get to smash said hilt. So we're not. So it's essentially we're doing what Sindri did to Odin at the end of the game.
So we get berserkers, and we get these like hell draugrs, like the hell holes, and I think both of those are less cool than the Valkyrie fights.
Yeah, I mean the hell. I mean, really,
I think there's some good berserker fights, but what I liked about the Valkyrie is that they were all really unique and fun. Yeah. The berserker fights are a lot of the same, and then a couple different.
Then you fight three at once.
No, oh God,
that was unfair. That was unfair.
No.
Let's just first of all, fuck them. Second of all, I'm actually very mad because I was watching a tutorial on how to help me to get attacks to beat them, and the guy was rolling away when they do like the fire orb and the ice orb, and it just hit the ground. Yeah, did you know that you could actually just throw the spear and explode it on contact? Because I didn't fucking know that until I fought the king the other night, and I'm very upset about it.
I too found that out too late, but I knew that.
But yeah, that 3-on-1 fight, F those sisters. And actually, when I got to the Svartalfheim 2v2 fight, that was a walk in the park.
That was fun.
I wasted them like that.
Yeah. There was something I wanted to bring up about like about the berserker fight. Actually, I'm struggling to remember now. But I think the Valkyries were a better stage. There's a line of dialogue I want to highlight. Unless we want to talk more about the berserkers, I'll just quickly dive.
Gná, like the Valkyrie Queen, just shows up as your ally at one point. She's just there, like, hey, I'm your friend now. I'm like, didn't I kill you?
Don't you mean Sigrun?
Sigrun.
That's it. Yeah, I forget her name. Yeah.
Gnar is the new Valkyrie. Man, I hated that so much. When Gnar shows up in the Battle of Ragnarok, it's like, that's Gnar. I can't believe they made her the queen. Gone.
She's the final. You fight her at the end, but I'm like, what is this introduction?
I really get that she's at the end, and I'm glad that we got to fight her initially or whatever. But like, I don't think she should have been at the end. But so there's the line of dialogue I want to talk about in Alfheim that I really like when you're going to free the squids, the jellyfish. Yeah, and there's a great reproductive lesson at the end of the second one. When Atreus is like, "Why are you doing this? You never want to do these quests with me. You never want to go off on these. You never want to free these things." And Kratos is not really answering him, and Mimir just goes, "Did it ever occur to you that he just wants to spend time with you?"
Yep.
And that's a really good moment, because at that point, Kratos knows that he's going to die, or at least thinks he's going to die because he saw the mural, which you realize that the mural, it only shows Kratos dying because that's the predictable outcome, but he doesn't do the predictable outcome at the end because he opens his heart. He instead of closing it, he opens his heart. That's a good story arc I really enjoy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. After you free all the two big jellyfishes, like the world gets like flooded with the little tiny ones. I'm like,
because they bone.
Yeah, they bone. It's really pretty. Yeah. A lot of those side quests are so fun. There's a really sweet, and I learned this after. There's a side quest where you're like gathering ingredients from across the realm. And that's a developer lost like his boyfriend or his husband who was a chef, and he put that in the game for him. And I was like, oh, that's just really sweet. I love when developers get to do stuff like that.
I'm missing
like a fun little treasure quest.
I'm missing one of those ingredients. Just one. Don't know where it is.
Sparkle flower.
I don't know.
What? The more characters. This game needed more real estate, frankly, because we get so many different characters. And again, not to be a broken record, but the way to do that is to make it 3 games. To make this 2 games.
When we meet Freyr and we meet like the dark elf and light elf who are a couple, and like I want more of their story, but like who are you? You guys seem cool. Please give me.
And we see Durlin once as Kratos, and then once as Odin, and then once at the funeral. And I'm like, okay, well, I guess Durlin wasn't supposed to be important.
Although it's funny because if you see Durlin again after the funeral and you talk to him, he talks about how it's like I'm as sober as the day I was born. It's like, yeah, you're still drinking. It's goat's milk. It's brown. It was an ugly goat.
I didn't hear that. That's pretty good.
I haven't gotten that one.
Go back to Svartalfheim. It's hilarious. I absolutely love that bit.
Did you, Brandon? Did you visit Tyr at different locations after you just?
Yeah, I found him in all the realms.
Yeah, that's really cool.
I found him in Alfheim because I freed him, and then I found him in Alfheim, and I think I found. Where am I right now?
He's at the last place I see him. I think it's at like the end of the world cosmos place with the space where Surtur is. He's there.
Oh,
I found him there. He's just chilling, like, wow, this is crazy.
Did you guys hear Sindri's cries in Niflheim?
You mean Samara's cries?
Samara's cries, yeah.
Oh, okay,
yeah. That was terrible, or not terrible, but that was yikes. And also, Grayson has a really good thing saying, yeah, I think if this made it 3 games, I think it would have been a much more solid game, more character development with a heart.
And I think, I will reiterate, like, I think the character stories of our main characters is good and solid, and there's some good stuff there. The character development on these side characters really suffers, and that's not a problem the 2018 game had.
Again, like Freyr is like such an outlier of a character for me in this game because like he doesn't sound like anyone else. He just sounds like a white dude, and like his dialogue also it sounds more modern than the other way people are talking. I'm just like, this is just like a weird like, hey, look, I'm like a cool jock guy, and I'm like,
and when he sacrifices himself to get everyone off of Asgard before it's destroyed by Surtur, it doesn't mean anything to me. I don't care because all of your character development with this guy has been off screen.
Yeah. Yeah, and it is like again like the idea of like building your army to fight Asgard is a really cool and like opening all the realms, like that's a really cool scene. But it just like it feels like a lot of build up.
Opening all the realms is a really cool scene.
It feels like the assault on Asgard should be considerably longer.
Yeah.
But it kind of just like, no, Kratos, just go fight the bad guys.
And Sindri, look, I get Sindri's going through some shit, but when he's just like, I'll go get the dwarves ready, and then he comes back and like, I didn't want to get the dwarves ready. This is my fight. This isn't their. Well, then why'd you leave?
Because I'm dramatic.
Why'd you leave?
He went to go build the tuning fort so he can use the flaw.
That's pretty powerful.
No, but that's the thing of like there's clearly like a lot of things in this game. Like I mentioned Sindri, not Sindri, Jesus, Samara. Like she was supposed to be in the game. You were supposed to meet her originally. That's why you can see Niflheim from the realm, because that was going to be a connected level that you were going to be able to go to. They canceled all that, and like you look at all the stuff they canceled, and I'm like, well, actually, all the stuff you canceled would have fixed a lot of the problems that I personally have with the game. Maybe you shouldn't have.
Yeah, but then you got a point where like, what, do you delay the game for another year? Like,
I don't have a problem with game delays.
No, I agree, but like, this is not. I know this is not the case. It's gonna sound. It feels like they did not want to make a third game, so they just had to get this one out, and like if the story doesn't work, then they did their best. And I know that's not the case. I know they worked really hard, but like it's just like going from the first God of War to this, like that first one is so good. It's so tight. Like it is flawless. When you double the length, double the characters, and you don't double the combat, like it's a video game still. You got to play it. So like. I'm glad to have played it. I'm glad. Like I think it's a really good game. Yeah. With this type of game, with this scale, like this is like the AAA, the biggest with the big. I was really hoping for a slam dunk, and it's more like you made it. You definitely made it. You made it.
It was more like an alley-oop than a slam dunk.
Yeah.
I think that probably should. I think that probably does it.
Yeah.
Let me think.
Ryan, what would you rate it?
Hold on. Odin's great. Thor's great. Oh, what's Thrud and Thor's wife's name?
Sif.
Sif. I think Sif's pretty cool. That's the blonde lady from Uncharted. What's her name?
Oh
I
yeah,
forget her name. But that's a blonde lady from Uncharted. She's
yeah.
good.
I thought she was familiar.
I all the boss fights I think are fun. I love fighting these guys. The alligators. whatever they're called.
The Drekkie.
There's always two. Like, why am I fighting two? I don't mind. I'll kill them. I thought they were great.
When I fought one, I was like, oh man, what was hard enough? And then when I had to fight two of them, I'm like, shit.
I think my favorite combat area, I think where is it where you have the rocks that you can ping pong with the axe? Alfheim, with the dark elves, light elves. That stuff's awesome. I love doing that. Like the puzzles where you have to like line it up and you have to break stuff and move stuff. I love all that stuff.
Definitely got some good aha moments when I finally figured it out.
Yeah, me too.
Aha.
Let's see. Oh yeah, one quick little thing. One thing I do love is that if you miss anything, it'll show up in the chest at all the blacksmith stuff. Because there's one time where a material for the crystal in the crater fell on a ledge and would not come down, and I upset it, and I was mad about it because like shit, I really need this piece so I can throw into the wishing well. Gorgeous, by the way.
I love that. I love that wishing well stuff, like making armor. You have to like synthesize it. Love it.
Yeah, you have to like break these like these rock tumors that are hurting the land, and all of a sudden it's like we gift you better stuff. And thankfully, I was able to grab it. I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about that bit because you do forget things every once in a while. It happens. It's a big ass game, and a lot of times the loot is on the floor is hard to pick up. Brandon, final thoughts? Or Ryan, what would you rate the game?
First of all, one more thing. The post game's great. I really like. There's a couple different quests that you get, but the one I really like, it's like there's 10 like fallen pieces of Asgard that have landed on the different realms, and you got to go clean them up. So they'll just be like part of a building with some dudes, or part of a ship with some dudes, and like, we're from Asgard. How did we get here? I guess I'm gonna die by Kratos, and you have to do that 10 times, and then you get some experience. And I just thought that was fun. I would give it an 8.5 out of 10.
Brandon?
I speaking of side quests that probably shouldn't have been side quests, the Laufey versus Thor storyline, I think should have been a quest.
Oh, that is such a but again, that's the whole crater thing, and that's like its own separate.
I know, but like that's important character development for Thor and for Kratos, because there's still a lot of like, why did Faye put us on this journey? There you go. That answers some of it.
Because when you first fight Thor, he's like, this seems familiar. Because he fought Laufey with the Leviathan axe who knows how long ago. And if you don't do the post-game content, that is never followed up on. So you're just like, what did he mean? What did he mean by that? Yeah.
Exactly. Which I'm just saying should have been quest.
Yeah.
I think that the game overall is a very good experience. I really enjoyed playing it. It was my most anticipated game of many, many years. I'm not a big gamer, so take that how you will. The emotional storytelling wasn't quite there for me, and I know I've been a lot more negative than I honestly thought I would be on this thing, because like I did really like the game. I did have a good time. I was never bored. I really liked the characters. I just wish I wish they used the real estate smarter, and I don't believe they did, especially towards the end of the game. And maybe they just didn't want to. And I don't want to force people to do something they don't want to. But like 3 game, a new God of War trilogy would have been a lot stronger than this duology, I think.
Oh yeah.
I really like how they interpret Norse mythology. My final thoughts are just like the first game. I really enjoy how they interpret Norse mythology, and the various names specifically, like Frigg and Freya and Fenris, Fenrir, Svartalfheim, and Nidavellir. Nidavellir being what the dwarves call it, but Svartalfheim what Asgardians call it, and it's like they don't like it.
Yeah.
So like, and how they interpret the stuff with Loki and Angerboda. I'm a mythology nut. I know you are too, Ryan. So it's really cool to exist in these mythology worlds and have them be reinterpreted in such unique and creative ways. And I think the game is just as strong in that case as the first game.
Oh yeah, they didn't skimp on any of the research or like build in the mythology. Like it's and there's so much. If you love reading, oh my god, are there documents and pages and like lore and manuals you can read in this game? It's so much stuff.
Yeah, I would also give it an 8 out of 10.
The Nidhogg is in this game. That's a cool thing.
The Nidhogg is in this game.
Rescue his babies.
I would also give this an 8 out of 10.
I'm going to be the one outlier and give it a 9.5. I was thinking it was going to be a 10 because just like Elden Ring, to me, the flaws in the game are just so minuscule because of how much fun I had.
Oh, yeah.
But unlike Elden Ring, even when I first started Elden Ring, I wanted to keep playing. The second I popped that disc into my PS5, that disc did not leave my PlayStation for months, literal months. It was in there. With God of War, it did take a while for me to get there. And thankfully, I mean, I'm glad I finally made it, but I would say that this game is 9.5. There are some things that you guys have talked about that actually shifted my perspective on. It's like, yeah, there probably should have been a second. This probably should have been 3 games. They probably should have done away with certain characters, or they needed more real estate, and they needed to take some stuff out or speed things up a little bit. There are a bunch of things, but at the end of the day, this game was still absolutely fantastic to play. While I do agree with the general consensus that it is not truly a Game of the Year winner, it should be spoken in the same breath as Elden Ring. This game truly was fantastic to play. It had some great moments in it. The characters in it were fantastic. Christopher Judge deserves winning best performance, but that could be said for a lot of actors in this game. Richard Schiff was fantastic. And
I think Freya is my favorite because she's acted her ass off in this one. She's so much.
Richard Schiff, real quickly, because you brought it up, Richard Schiff is such an effortless actor. I love watching him act. He's so cool to watch act because he's so just kind of like calm and collected. And
I got a Schiff fact for you. So they wrote this Odin specifically for him, not thinking they could get him. His agent came to him. He initially said no. He told his son, and his son is an avid gamer, saying, "Hey, they want me to do this God of War thing." And he's like, "If you don't do this, you're not my dad anymore." He didn't actually say that, but he was like, "You have to do this, Dad. Like, God of War is the biggest thing ever." So, like, thank his son for being in this.
Richard Schiff is He's my favorite in this game.
I feel like there's a lot of stories like that where it's like, "Oh, I went to my son and I went to my kid and my kid said, do it."
There's a lot of that.
There is. But yeah, once again, flaws are there, but to me, they are just minuscule to the amount of fun, the amount of the drive I had to explore as much of this game, the drive I still have now to explore the post-game content and still play more and see more that's out there. I don't know if I am going to platinum this game, like get 100% and defeat and get everything, but it's just so much fun. It's so much fun to explore and to do. So it maybe not. I don't know. But still, solid 9.5. This game it truly is a fantastic game.
It is. I'll agree with that.
All right. So that's Basement Arcade Pause Menu for God of War Ragnarok. Tonight we will continue on to our book club segment of the live recording. But if you're watching this just as Basement Arcade Pause Menu episode, thank you so much for joining us. You definitely know where you can find us because there are links below, and we don't need to drag that out for the people who are watching this live.
So just like last time, can we each do our own boy like we did for 2018 God of War?
Sure. Yeah, Ryan,
hold on.
Let me also.
Yeah, we're all doing the boy.
Boy, no, I can't do it. I can't get my voice raspy enough.
And you got the rasp.
Boy.
There you go. I can't do the raspy thing.
Christopher Judge, was that you?
All right.
Or actually, hold on, one more. Atreus.
There you go.
That's pretty good. All right.
I was talking like Kratos a lot when I was playing the game.
Now you need to give a 12-minute speech.
No.
Don't do it. All right. So for tonight, book club.
Unpause.